Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump did the right thing. President Trump invokes Defense Production Act. So what is it? Let me read you this. On Wednesday, March 18th, President Donald Trump announced that he was invoking the Defense Production Act to help fight fake apocalypse. So what does that mean? The Defense Production Act of 1950 is a federal provision that allows the government to marshal the private sector to ramp up production of certain supplies. According to FEMA's website, the DPA, Defense Production Act, is the primary source of presidential authorities to expedite and expand the supply of resources from the U.S. industrial base to support military, energy, space, and homeland security programs. In this case, it would allow the administration to expand the supply of resources needed to handle the fake apocalypse amid concerns. Some doctors and hospitals are already running short. The president said he would be signing the provision on Wednesday. Right after we finish this conference, I'll be signing it and it's prepared to go, Trump told reporters. So the president declined to say it during Wednesday's briefing how the act would be used specifically. All right, so if we need to ramp up production of medical supplies, because medical supplies come from, let's say, one country, then, or I should say, a great percentage of medical supplies come from one country or one region, we then can expand production within this country. CNN, Trump invokes Defense Production Act to expand production. That's a good thing. So President Trump is doing the right thing. So Senate okays bill for sick leave, free testing. So this is okay. The Defense Production Act. So basically, oh my God, it's like the news stories here are 3 million people voted. So President Trump's doing the right thing. 3 million people voted yesterday in long lines. Democrats, liberals, people who watch CNN and MSNBC and think Trump has fumbled this catastrophe. Touching doorknobs, how you doing? Getting in lines. They say, no more than 10, no more than 10. Well, there were 3 million plus Democrats, hundreds of thousands of whom voted for Michael Bloomberg, which is hilarious. And that's so hilarious. I mean, you're talking about like hundreds of thousands of Bidens here. They're not the sharpest tool in the shed. Clinton is going to be nominee. I'm gonna still do the segments. I don't care, I'm going to still talk about it because, this is actually exactly the scenario that I was talking about. I didn't realize or I couldn't predict this, but who do you think they're going to roll with once Bernie is forced to drops out, whatever? Every day Bernie Sanders stays within the race, the primary, is a day where Democrats say to themselves, never again will we talk about Medicare for all. It only leads to problems. They have more contempt for Bernie Sanders than they do President Trump. They just, every day, their disdain for Bernie Sanders increases exponentially. So Bernie's not going to get any concessions. All he's going to do is further tarnish or, further tarnish whatever he's created, which is not much. Bernie Sanders of 2016 was a different story. Bernie 2020 is a media creation, propped up by pundits that Bernie can't even endorse. Does anybody realize that Bernie Sanders can't even endorse the pundits that propped him up? But anyway, Trump invokes Defense Production Act to address, President Donald Trump confirmed that he plans to invoke a provision that would allow him to prohibit certain, including, the answer is yes. The administration will evoke legal code states that show power and hold. This is unbelievable. It's like, that's the Defense Production Act. The USA Today doesn't even talk about it. It talks about TechCrunch. Let's see. Trump invokes the Defense Production Act to address. All right. So during a White House press briefing on Wednesday, President Trump opened remarks by confirming that he has invoked the Defense Production Act, a move that many have called for him to take to help fight the act, which was originally enacted in 1950 as a measure during the Cold War, authorizes the president to require that businesses agree to contracts or orders in service of national defense, as well as permitting the president broad powers around requisitioning property, settling any labor disputes, setting wage and price controls, and more in service of producing resources needed for national defense purposes. Part of the reason for this act is being invoked is to address the U.S.-wide shortage in basic necessities for frontline medical staff, including protective masks, gloves, and ventilators. As pointed out by a reporter in the press pool for the White House briefing today, hospitals have been sounding the alarm about the lack of adequate numbers for weeks, signaling a pending critical shortage. So we should have addressed that. I mean, states should have addressed that first. But the federal government should have. President Trump should have addressed this when it was taking place. But again, you have Democrats voting yesterday. 3 million people. So it's very difficult for the federal government to get involved when you have Democrats who are sounding the alarms, not taking it seriously themselves. Democrats only take it seriously when they find a way to harm Trump. Then it's, oh my God, shut down businesses, shut down all of California, shut down restaurants and bars, shut down this, shut down that. But when it's 3 million people congregating in 3 different states to vote for Biden to ensure that Bernie doesn't bother them anymore, then it's a different story. Then they can congregate in, hundreds of thousands of people each hour. But anyway, we have a target for masks. The masks, the number of masks are incredible. President, we've ordered millions of them, but we need millions more. We never had to even think in terms of these numbers, but we need millions of masks and all that will be ordered. So the state government should have been on top of this, and the federal government should have been on top of this. Every governor should have been on top of this before President Trump, but then President Trump should have also been on top of this. But look, this is something that, again, you have to ask yourself, how severe is this? Is it severe enough for Democrats to continue their primaries? So they talk a big game. They talk, okay, have you seen the projections? This is not going to lead to a recession. I know that there's a lot of people saying, the end of the world is not going to lead to a recession. Okay, at least not before the election. So this is a short term. It will be acute. We will definitely feel it next quarter. But within 2-3 weeks, when hopefully California reopens for business and other states reopen, and people realize that, yeah, you know what, it's getting warmer. And we're entering, summertime is not far away. So March, April, May, June, this pandemonium, this hysteria is not going to last. People are not actually spending a lot of money now, but not on businesses that they normally would frequent. They're going to the supermarket, stocking up. So overall, of course, it's very bad for the economy in the short term. In the long term, you have people who have saved up money, who are not going out, who are maybe obviously staying home, and they have that money to spend. Don't you think people want to go to restaurants again? Don't you think people want to see baseball or basketball? Don't you think people want to live their lives normally, go to restaurants and bars? Don't you think people want to live normally? We already had a problem in this country with people feeling alienated and alone, and social media just, making people nuts. We already had a problem. Now this is exacerbating the problem. So, if you feel alone, or if you feel depressed, or if you feel frightened or angered or frustrated, just watch this channel and, listen to the soulful sounds of Clinton 2020. What can I tell you? Hillary Clinton's this is exactly the scenario. People say, well, she has too many issues with the email server. Who do you think's spoken about that for the past 3 years more than me? Nobody, aside from Judicial Watch, obviously. I take a back seat to my God, Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch. Amazing. But far below them is me and then everyone else. I wrote books about this. They're on Amazon if you have Kindle, if you want to just, read during the week. It's But Her Top Secret Emails by H.A. Goodman. But Her Deleted Emails by H.A. Goodman. Go to Amazon. The links are below in the pinned comment. But people, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. Your life is going to go back to normal. You watching this, you are going to be fine. You have, you're going to be healthy and fine. And we're all going to be here to see President Trump win again in re-election. Just understand this. Understand this, people. Do not allow media to warp your brains. We already have enough Democrats. We don't need people voting for Trump to become Democrats in their mind and just be petrified and frightened and, doomsday scenarios, except when they're congregating in lines of 3 million or totaling 3 million individuals. So they say, no, you can't be in a room with more than 10 people. But being in a line with hundreds of thousands of people to vote in Florida and Illinois and Arizona, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, they're full of it. They're absolutely full of it. But here, so you have the Defense Production Act, which is a good thing. And it's funny because you have Democrats who their life's mission is to oppose Trump, but they can't oppose Trump on this. It's Trump to suspend evictions. Wow, that's big, actually. Trump to suspend evictions authorizes. That's big. Defense Production Act to mobilize business. Okay, so God bless President Trump. That's actually really, really, really important. Let's see. President Donald Trump said Wednesday he's invoking the Defense Production Act to mobilize U.S. Production capacity. Also, suspending all foreclosures and evictions until the end of April. Wow. It should be even beyond that. Wow. So that I just read this right now. I'm going to put this below. Well, actually, because it says it has the fake apocalypse. So here, Trump to suspend evictions authorizes Defense Production Act to mobilize business to aid, and then, okay. This is by D'Artenoro Clark and Rebecca Shabbat, March 18th, 2020. Okay, so that is huge. That's even more important. Suspending all foreclosures and evictions. Yeah. You can't, it should be, that should really go on for a couple of months. Because you can't, people are living day to day, paycheck to paycheck. And the same, it's funny because the same Democrats who are like, yeah, Bernie, who should drop out tomorrow. People say, oh, you said he could still win in 2016 because he was running against a criminal genius. Until July 5th, 2016, James Comey covered up the crimes. Genius. But, with Democrats who are like, oh, well, the federal government has to shut down businesses. Well, then how do they pay their rent? How do they pay their mortgage? How do they pay their... So they can't, So to suspend evictions... Wow. Trump to suspend evictions authorizes President Trump said his administration is suspending all foreclosures and evictions until the end of April. Well, that's good. So it's March, April, so the end of April. Okay. So it should be May and June, but that's very, very good. It's very, very good. That's huge. That should have spoken about that this whole time. Trump also said his administration is suspending all foreclosures and evictions until the end of April. Wow. Trump orders HUD to suspend evictions and foreclosures. Okay. So... I'm not exact. Trump to suspend all evictions. Okay, so hopefully this, I'm not 100% sure if it is Well, okay, so Trump says HUD will suspend foreclosures until the end of April. President Donald Trump said that the Department of Housing and Urban Development will temporarily suspend all foreclosures and evictions amid... Okay, so hopefully that means all renters and all people with mortgages throughout the country. I'm not sure if that means that, but it's going to mean a great many people. Give me your thoughts below. Trump suspends foreclosures and evictions until end of April, and he signs the defense... Let me read this here. So this is actually really, really a great thing. Defense Production Act and suspending foreclosures and evictions. Give me your thoughts. President Trump is handling this in the right way. It would have been nice if state governments and also the federal government, but also it would have been nice if state governments, especially the states that are asking for federal assistance, would have picked up on this before condemning people to possible eviction. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you so very, very much. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have some great segments there. Thank you so very much.